They're not considered EFA. They don't even show on the financial aid side. Usually when someone comes and says, I have a 529 plan, how do I take care of that? I direct them over to the business office because they fill out the paperwork and all of that. And it comes in and it looks like a payment on the student's account. So it's considered an asset of the owner unless the owner of the account is a dependent student. So a dependent student and they own, it's in their name, it's not counted as an asset. The account value is reported as an asset, and the parents on a FAFSA if the owner is the dependent student. So it would be a parent's asset. That seems weird to me. Treated as an asset if the student is independent. It's one of their assets. So we don't count it as estimated financial aid. It's being counted for in those calculations you did before I showed up today. They're not reported as an asset for the parent or the student if the asset is listed in the grandparents or aunt and uncle. So remember early on when 529s, well, back when 529s were new, grandparents were using them a lot. And a lot of families will put them in aunts or uncles or grandparents' names so they don't have to report it as an asset in the house. A lot of people will give you guidance to do that. It's one way around it. It's one way for grandparents to help their student or their potential students save some money, and it doesn't affect the application for help. It doesn't affect their expense. How many of you knew that? Institutional policies for adjusting students' awards. Institutions should establish a policy for adjusting student awards, and this should be in the policy, and everyone should kind of know how this works. And there's nothing worse than being in a situation. I found myself in this being new to an institution, and on my first day, a student comes in and says, I'm thinking about changing programs, and I might be full-time and half-time, and how's this going to affect my aid? And I just sat down for my first day. And I don't know the policy yet. There's nothing worse than not knowing the policy, so I encourage you to prepare yourself at whatever level you're at to be able to answer all of the questions that may come to you. Because if they smell fear, it's over. So these are some of the things to think about. And these are the questions that could cultivate a conversation with other people in your office or whoever's training you or your director or however y'all need to do this. Is gift aid reduced before self-help aid in our policy? Is self-help aid reduced before gift aid? Are gift and self-help aid reduced proportionally? How's that done? Is there a specific program order in which aid should be reduced or canceled? And we kind of alluded to that a little while ago. I said, I've always awarded SEOG and mentor grants. If student has loans, what is the order of reducing or canceling? Always reduce plus and unsubsidized first. Don't ever reduce sub. You always want to give the student as much eligibility in a subsidized loan as possible, and that is a federal regulation. Yes, ma'am. The question is, parents are approved for a Parent Plus loan, and they want to cancel the sub and the unsub for a student. Can we do that? I have not had to go and look because I've always tacked them into the sub loan. But the regs say you have to do the sub loan first. But if I had a family that was really pushing back, I would go to ask Greg. I would make some phone calls and find out. For sure. But that's what the regs say. And I don't know if there's any exceptions. I haven't seen any. And I haven't had to look. Yes. Okay. Adjusting student packages before reducing students' awards because of outside aid. These are the things that you should consider. Can all or a portion of the EFA be used to replace the student's EFC? Does the student have unmet needs still? Does the student have allowable expenses that were not included in his or her cost of attendance? So let's say student got a cost of attendance for a program where there were no extra lab fees or anything. They were in business. they've gotten an outside scholarship and it's indicated that now we're gonna be in the nursing program and there's an extra lab fee in there. Those are the kinds of things that you might wanna consider to increase their cost of attendance and make the adjustments to be good. If you know a student is doing something to change their status, and their cost of attendance should be changed, and it's in your policy to change it from that, go ahead and do it. And make these adjustments for their awards. Do everything all at once, think ahead, save yourself some steps. Mandy's heard me say this many times. I say, all right, if we could touch it just one time, let's do it that way. I don't like to touch things more than once, so I like to go in and do everything all at once. A note, only teach grants, unsubsidized staff or direct loans plus and non-federal loans may be used to replace expended family contribution. You learned that yesterday, right? And federal Pell Grants cannot be canceled or reduced. Pell is an
Michelle,
yes.
we had an instance where the student's unmet need was a negative number, and we had to reduce their sub-loan.
Yes.
This, is that accurate?
Mhm.
Okay.
You want to see some numbers on the board?
Please.
Okay. Are these erasers? They're funky. Look at that. That's not very clean, but it is gonna work. All right, so I don't push them. So let's say, we're gonna just start with need, okay? $2,000. After cost of attendance minus EFC, here's their need, okay? And so let's say they had Pell of 2,000. We're at 0 need now, right? So you can't give them a COG, but they get it. I need to change this. My mouse not gonna work. So they have $1,000 of need left. So let's say we gave them a COG of 500, and then sub-loan of 35. Well, I'm trying to make it work. That's 5,500. Okay, so right now we're at 0 need. If you add these up, that matches their need, right? And then the person got an outside scholarship of $2,000. That makes it a negative need of 2,000.
Right.
Right? So an adjustment is needed for $2,000. So you reduce this to 1,500. Right? I'm sorry you can't see that very well behind
That's
the
okay.
screen. That's what you need to do. You can't have all of these go over.
Okay, but what you're not listing there is their unsub loan.
Right, right. And so then, let's say they were grade level 1, you could do an unsub and it can go up to their cost of attendance. Yeah, you could award the yearly amount for between the sub and the unsub. They can have 5,500 as an incoming freshman.
Right.
So it would be 55 minus 1,500 would be 4,000. As long as this all in total doesn't go above the cost of attendance.
Originally, when I was told I had to make the adjustment, I went to go adjust the unsub loan because I know it's better for the student to have the sub loan. But it works just the opposite when it's a negative need. You take away
Yes.
from the sub loan.
Yes, you can't
Because
go
that's
over
need-based.
what need is. Does that help?
It does.
I remember thinking that when I first started too. I remember going through all the different scenarios to get it straight somewhere. It takes some time, it takes some
It
practice.
does. Still haven't done it. It's a lot.
Okay.
It's a lot.
I think you got it now, though. You have it.
Over the cost of attendance, yes. As long as you're not over on need, you adjust their unsub for the parent plus. If you have a choice between the two, I would just reduce the parent plus. Because you know the interest rates for the sub and unsub are better than the plus. Yes, ma'am.
Great question. Now, is the SELG supposed to be 500, because isn't that 6,000 instead of 50,000?
You want me? Did I do my math wrong?
Yeah,
No, I'm just making sure.
yeah, it was 6,000.
3, 4, 5, that's 5,500 when you add these two, all of these, because that was the first level of awarding that I did.
What?
And then I added $2,000 of outside scholarship.
You
And
did
so
6,000.
I adjusted this, and it should have been by 2,000, right? My math is wrong.
Now, are you doing the 2,000 plus the 500, so it's the 3,500 originally?
Yes. This was level 1 of awarding.
So it's 6,000,
So that's 6,000.
yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't mean to do that.
Okay.
So let's make this 3,000.
Okay.
I was trying to make it.
Oh,
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
Well,
did.
in my example, even though my math is key. I may have my fully embarrassed now.
Talk about it later.
Talk about
But
doing
the gist
your
is don't go
evaluation.
over E.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
That's
so
why I
I'm
was-
sorry, my math is.
Yeah, that's why I was confused with.
The board is fuzzy, I did fuzzy math.
Uh-huh.
How's that?
I can buy that.
Okay, so next, here's a now over awarding example, and I'm pretty sure the math is right on this one. So the cost of attendance is 12,000. Expected family contribution is 4. Student's need is 8. Student is a junior, so they can have 5,500 in subsidized and 2,000 in unsub because it's a dependent student apparently. Prior to the first disbursement of loans, student receives $2,000 in a university scholarship, and yes, that happens at the last minute. University considers $2,000 unsub loan to be replaced. The university considers the $2,000 unsub loan to be the replacement for the $2,000 of EFC, thus no over award. So we haven't gone over need of $8,000 if you add between sub and that new scholarship. That total is $7,500, and so we haven't gone over needs, so we're still good. We haven't gone over the overall cost of attendance, so we're even better. So there's no negative conversations with that family. You just send them a new award letter and say, yeah, you got more money. We like those. Those are easy.
But have we met their need? I'm confused.
Well, let's just say we had no other options. They're
Okay.
not Pell eligible, they
Okay,
can't have
okay.
SCOG, they can't have Perkins. We gave them $2,000 in a scholarship, they've got all the stuff they have, sometimes you can't meet.
Okay, that's right, when only receiving loans, you're gonna usually have unmet need.
It depends on the
The
cost of
amount of
attendance. Okay? See what happens when the math is right? Okay, so in this example, the student has need of $1,000. So it's going to be met with a subsidized loan. There's no scholarships or outside scholarships yet. Student gets an $800 outside scholarship. So the expected financial aid for the student is $11,000 plus the 1,000 sub plus the scholarship, which is $12,800. But the cost of attendance is $12,000, so the student is over awarded by $800. So in this scenario, you would reduce the subsidized loan by $200. Yes, sorry. Yes, 2.
Can you go back to that last one? Michelle has a question on your last one.
The one before?
Yeah.
This one?
It says that you're reducing the EFC, so does that mean that you've got, the cost is 12 and the EFC is 2,000?
You're replacing the EFC is how it's worded. So you're not reducing the EFC, it's just a replacement of it. Because unsub and parent plus can be a replacement to EFC up to the cost of attendance.
Okay, so what you're saying is, then it would, in actuality, 2,000 is EFC and the 2,000 is the loan, so it still comes to 4,000?
Well, it ends up to where the student can still have the 5,500 and the 2,000, and then they have the institutional scholarship of 2,000. You add all those together, it doesn't go over the cost of attendance. And the two need awards that can't go over 8,000 are the subsidized and that 2,000. That's the point that Sean's trying to make in this convoluted way that he did it, but the math is right.
And now they still have $500, is that,
Yes.
okay, that $500 is gonna come up with or something?
Well, that's their award, and we haven't gone up to their cost of attendance, and depending on what their charges are, that may not be a big deal. Because this is not their actual charges on their account, their student account. This is their financial aid eligibility.
Okay, all right. But, and let me, this is a different question. How long do they give them to pay these loans off? Like, when you sign your loan, do you say I'll start making payment and I'll make it for 10, 15 years?
Did you guys talk about loan repayment yesterday?
10 years after
Is
the
it 10
grace
years?
period.
10 years. I missed that
It
one.
was 6 months.
That's okay, that was just a little quiz for everybody. I was gonna make Mandy do a dissertation on this. Yeah, there's a lot of other options for refinancing,
And
consolidation,
then
and all that.
I'll extend it.
All right, so anybody have questions about this? We were to hear, everybody okay with this? Don't worry if it's still rolling in your head, it's okay, don't feel bad about that.
Just not a math person, I
It takes
guess.
time, it takes practice. And even after doing it since 1989, sometimes I still go, whoa, I don't think I did that right. Overpayments for which school is responsible. School is liable for Pell, Teach, Perkins loans, and SEOG overpayments that occur due to a school failure. So, you know how you can report overpayments for students to the Department of Ed? If it was your institution's fault, you can't do that. You have to, if your institution, and you have to figure it out. Hopefully there aren't very many of those. School may attempt to collect the returned funds from the student, however, can't have negative ramifications from it, as far as reporting them to NSLDS or anything like that. And overpayments resulting from interim disbursements must be repaid within 60 days following the student's last day of attendance or by the last day of the award year, whichever, come first. If you disperse too early, student leaves, you have an overpayment, gotta take care of it. And how many of you know about the shopping sheet? Have any of you talked to families that are looking at a shopping sheet and they're really confused? I have that a lot. In our award packets at William Peace, we have award letters and we have a cost worksheet. And we award them everything that they're eligible for, and then we provide this cost worksheet so they can figure out what their direct costs are and figure out what their bottom line is and decide as a family what they need to do. Okay, and we walk them through that worksheet often on the phone or in person or orientation or moving weekend or whenever it needs to happen. But sometimes I'll be with someone on the phone and they're rattling off numbers and I'm like, what are they looking at? And I realize, boom, it's the shopping sheet, which are averages and numbers that the Department of Ed tells us we have to report, but they're not pertinent to what they're trying to figure out to get their student in school right now. So while I appreciate the shopping sheet information, it's kind of hard to walk the families through the actual numbers that they need to do if they're looking at the shopping sheet. This happened to us about 3 or 4 years ago. It's the attempt of the Department of Ed to have where you can put shopping sheet for 4 schools, and that'll help you decide which school to go to when you're figuring out the money. Okay, so you're comparing apples, right? That's the reason for it. Is it the best tool in the world? It's not. But they're making an attempt. I'm hoping that the next steps will be taken, and maybe we can come up with a uniform award letter that really works for everybody. Because I understand why they try to do this, or what they're trying to do. It's just we haven't succeeded yet, and I think that's pretty clear. Now, when the shopping sheet was first introduced, schools could only give it to, if they wanted to, veteran students, students, or they could give it to the whole population. So it depends on your institution, what you choose to do. You could choose not to give